Welcome back. My name is James. I'm a physician assistant and founder of PA Mentor Online, bringing you the best tips and tools you'll need to successfully get into a PA program. So as you know, it's New Shirt Day. Says actually turned out to be one of my more favorite shirts. I kind of like the thing called baseball style and maybe a little retro looking, but of course I like the color, navy blue. So we have a student who got accepted into AT Still University, and she's going to talk to you about her process and how we helped her along the way to get into a PA program. If you're thinking about applying or interested in becoming a PA, but you're not sure quite how to do it, go to our website, pamentoronline.com, and sign up for the free consult. We'll have one of our physician assistant mentors contact you and explain our services and how we can make you a competitive candidate as well. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let her tell her story. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody. Today we're interviewing a new, future PA student. She'll be attending school here soon. Somebody we started working with, I think, roughly about a year ago. We met per chance through, I think, a pre-PA club, but I'm just going to actually go ahead and let her tell her story. So if you don't mind introducing yourself by telling us your name. And I know you've been accepted to multiple programs, so why don't you just tell us which school you're going to be attending?
Hi, everyone. My name's April Sellers, and I'm going to be attending school at AT Still University, which is here where I'm an undergrad in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm super excited. I'm in my last year of school here at Grand Canyon, and I'll be going to AT Still next year. So I can't wait.
Congratulations. So can you go ahead and tell us, I sort of remember how we first came about meeting. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I kind of don't remember.
Sure. So about in October of last year, I was not sure if I needed to take a gap year, if I was going to be a competitive applicant. And so I reached out kind of to do a consultation and get some feedback from somebody who knew a little bit more about the whole thing than I did. And also I kind of had started a pre-PA club on campus at my university, and I was looking for people to speak to the club. So it was kind of like a combination of those two things. And then everything just took off from there.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we did connect, and thank God you didn't take that gap year.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's go ahead and start off with just why did you decide to pursue a career path of a physician assistant?
Sure. So I got interested in healthcare and knew that's what I wanted to do through being with my sister, because she had a heart condition growing up. And so I was with her in doctor's visits and whatnot. And so I was interested in healthcare. How I got to PA specifically was through volunteering at the hospital. And I saw PAs and I didn't know what they were. And I wound up talking to one, kind of asking, I was like, honestly, I don't know what a PA is, but it's on your coat. And so she explained it to me. And then through all my experiences in patient care and whatnot and working in healthcare, it was more confirmation that I wanted to become a PA. But that's how I found out about it and where my interest in healthcare started.
Okay. So tell me about your, tell me about your undergrad experience. You'll be graduating next year, correct?
Yep, in April of 2022. So
okay.
So I'm an undergrad at Grand Canyon University, which is in Phoenix, Arizona. And like we said, I'm graduating in April. And I started out as like a pre-med major, which is a biology degree. There was a period of time during my sophomore year where I wasn't sure if I was maybe interested in going to registered dietitian school. So I wound up double majoring in biology on the pre-med track and nutritional sciences, and then a minor in psych. So I've loved my experience here, and everything that I've learned in all my classes has been like more confirmation that I'm in the right field. And so I'm just really excited, and I feel prepared. I know PA school is going to be a challenge, but it's something I'm ready for, like the next step. I'm ready to kind of stretch myself a little bit more, and I'm not done with undergrad, but I'm ready for the next thing.
Okay. So what about the prerequisites? Were you able to get those all through your undergrad, or did you have to go outside of the college?
I was able, I could have done them all through my school, and I did the majority of them through GCU, but I did take a few courses at community college just because I was a double major, and so I had to take a lot of courses over the summer, and Grand Canyon didn't offer all the courses that I needed to take over the summer, because every summer I took at least 2 classes. And so I took Gen Chem 1 at a community college, which was a prereq. Otherwise, all the prereqs were fulfilled at Grand Canyon.
Good. Lucky. So tell us what you thought was the most difficult course that you had to take.
I think the most difficult course that I had to take, which everyone gives OChem and biochem a bad rap, but for me, I would say that getting through the Gen Chems, like Gen Chem 2 specifically, was probably the most challenging, just because you're still at a very early place in undergrad, and you're either in your probably your first or second semester, and it's kind of a wake up call because it is a more challenging course. It's not just your general biology, and it takes a
Mhm.
little bit more of the memorization. And so I think that was probably my most challenging course, especially because at that point you have probably a little bit less motivation to do well because graduate school seems so far away. And
Right.
so that was definitely something that was my most challenging course, 100%.
Now, what about, so, you're, I guess, like midway through your college career, the pandemic happened. So how did you adjust to that with your academics? I'm sure a lot of it went online, at least for some period of time.
Yeah, so all of my classes during like the spring break when COVID hit that March were moved online, and we all got sent home. And so I went back to Oklahoma and finished up all those courses online. And fortunately, GCU the next fall did move everybody back on campus. We just cut down the days of the week that we had class. So we had one online day and one in-person day. But I was able to like keep up with my coursework and finish out the semester strong when COVID did hit, but we didn't go pass fail or anything like that. Like I know a lot of universities did. I
Mhm.
would say it was kind of either like a sink or swim moment, because you can either use that as something to, I learned how to take information that was presented to me in like a new way and still learn it, rather than be like, oh, this is totally different, I can't do
Mhm.
Zoom. So I think that for me, I learned a lot through it. And it was challenging at first because I don't really like online school. I'd rather be in person. It's hard to sit and look at your computer screen, but
Mhm.
I think I learned a lot from it, and I feel more prepared to be able to still do well even when something's given to me in a way that I'm not used to. Is the way I would put it.
Did you have to do any of your labs online?
So I was in Gen Bio 2, so Bio 182, which had a lab whenever COVID hit. And so that lab transitioned to online. And then all my other labs were still in person. That lab, it was kind of weird because it was like a sim lab. And so doing a
Mhm.
bio sim lab is you're like dissecting things virtually, which was pretty
Mhm.
but that was the only lab that was online for me, which was I was fortunate in that.
Okay. Yeah, that is. We keep telling all of our students to avoid the online labs, and maybe like a month or so ago, we just decided that come January of next year, we're not going to accept any more online labs. But then things have changed, and now the
Right.
numbers. I mean, just a few months ago, everything was just trending down, and now it's ramping back up. So we're probably going to end up doing online labs again next semester. So
Uh,
it's unfortunate. What about the GRE? Did you take the GRE?
I did not take the GRE. I was on the fence about it, but it wound up being that my top programs didn't require it, and it was working and taking classes, and I just didn't really feel like I wanted to add that stress, so I didn't take it. But I did study for it a bit, and it just kind of felt like I was studying for a amped up ACT, but I didn't wind up taking it.
Interestingly enough, a couple of programs have been asking students about this. And I kind of think, I hope, and I'm sure everybody else will, is that it almost sounds like the trend is going to be towards getting rid of it, because it's not a very good indicator of who will do well. Obviously, someone like yourself, there's no question you're going to do very well in PA school, but however you did or would have done on the GRE is just not going to be an accurate representation of your abilities. So
Yeah, I think that, like I said, my top schools, none of them required it. So that was
okay.
something I was surprised at, definitely.
So talk to me about your patient care experience hours. So what did you end up doing to get those?
So I started as a volunteer intern in the hospital when I had just graduated from high school. I'd been volunteering there for a while, and they gave me like a job that I wasn't getting paid for, but I was basically just in the OR shadowing. And then from there, which I counted that as volunteer work, so I didn't count that as patient care on my CAS, but from there, the next summer I took a CNA course, which was like a 2-week course, and then I started applying for jobs that summer as soon as my CNA class was finished. And It was in my hometown, which is in Oklahoma. It's Tulsa. It's pretty small, and so there's not as many jobs as there might be. And like, I know there's way more healthcare jobs here in Phoenix that are available for students. But I was applying all over the place to hospitals and stuff, and it wound up being that I got a job in home health. And so first I was like, it's not in a clinic or a hospital, so I felt like it might not be good experience. But I learned so much as a home health aide, like going into new situations, and you weren't exactly sure what kind of patient you were going to see and things like that. And so I started doing home health and I wound up loving it and I learned a lot. And then from there, I was they called it a cross-trained assistant in the hospital, but it was equivalent to CNA or a nurse tech. And I went from the oncology floor to the COVID floor because that was during the summer of that COVID was, whenever it first began. And so then after that, I moved back to Phoenix because I was in Oklahoma. And when I came back here, I started working as a scribe. And so I still work as a scribe. Right now I'm in an orthopedics clinic, but before that I scribed. It's a company that contracts scribes. So they basically hire scribes and then send you somewhere. So I started in oncology, then that provider retired and I got moved to orthopedics. And so that's how I got my patient care experience, was those 3 different jobs.
Now, with the multiple jobs and you're a full-time student, how did you find that in terms of juggling both of those at the same time?
It was difficult at first. So as a freshman, the summer after my freshman year of college is when I got my first job in healthcare. And I thought that I wouldn't be able to sustain that during school just because I was working so many hours and I was taking 2 classes at that time. And so I was like, I can't keep this up. And I was really stressed out. So I was like, I barely made it through that summer. I was like, I just can't handle both. But then, I realized I was like, they're going to be getting applicants that are able to manage both. And so you either learn how to do it or you just don't go, or it's not for you. And so I I buckled down and I got a little bit better about time management, cut back on I didn't work full time. Now I am working full time with school, but whenever I was still a little bit younger in my sophomore and junior year, I didn't work full time and I just, got better at time management. And that's really it, is like setting up your schedule in a way that you're able to handle it, looking at when your class times are, knowing when you're going to be working and kind of like cutting out times for studying and being really intentional about that, putting the phone away. I mean, I used to send my phone with my roommate sometimes when she'd go to class and like, take it with you. I don't want to be able to look at it. So you just have to get creative. And like I said, like somebody else will if you don't, and they're going to be applying too. And so they might choose that person over you. And so that's kind of what got me motivated to do that.
That is exactly what happens. It's interesting. I'm really anxious for other people to hear this. We do a lot of we do these little consultations. We talk to people who are thinking about applying, and more often than not, I'm hearing all these stories about why I can't do this, I can't get that, and can't. Like, yeah, but all the other applicants do.
Someone will,
yeah, someone will. So they're not going to say, well, I understand because you have family, or you're the sole provider. All these other reasons. Yeah, but I have people that are single parents, and I have people that are, managing a household and doing this. And yeah, you're going to have to step it up. It is a different level. This is not, and there's no, if you feel like you're not able to accomplish something like the hours or this or that or the other, then we'll find the applicants that do have it.
And exactly. And I think a lot of times you might think that you're unable to do something, but if you haven't tried it, you just have to kind of jump in head first and give it a shot, because a lot of times you'll figure it out.
One of the programs received over 4,100 applications this cycle, and I think it's only for 60 seats. I think that's all they take. And out of the 4,100, because there are applications that are just, they don't meet the requirements. Out of the 4,100, they had over 2,900 that met everything.
Oh, that's
so
a lot.
Again, people are like, oh, I can't. It's like, okay, but we're gonna pick people
one
who
of those
did.
other people.
Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds harsh, but
it just is the way that it is.
It really is. And I mean, you'll appreciate the magnitude when you get into school, and then of course when you're working. I mean, these are people's lives that you're responsible for, and it demands that kind of a dedication and sacrifice. So anyway, sorry. All right. So let's talk about your application as a whole. So how many programs did you end up applying to? Be honest.
I applied to 8 total.
Okay.
Yeah. 8. Well, I applied to 9, but one of them I didn't finish I wound up getting the supplemental, and I didn't do the supplemental application. So my application wasn't complete for that school because I had heard some things that made me decide against applying there. So I submitted 9, but I actually completed the application for 8. I was like, I tried to be as like frugal as I could about that, even though I wanted to apply to more. I'm thankful that I did it.
Right. And we hear this a lot and we get it. And my feelings aren't hurt. I just, we're trying to do our best to, we understand you invested in this program or our service. So we don't want you to have to go out and spend more, which is
Sure.
unnecessary. And I know a lot of people, when we tell them how many, they're just like, come on, that doesn't sound right. I mean, I'm reading all these things online, 15, 20, like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this was, I'm assuming that this was your first time applying, correct?
Yes.
Okay. First time is always the best time to get in.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, we worked on your school's list together, right? So I'm not really,
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of how did you decide the schools, but we worked on that together, right?
Yeah, we worked on it together.
Okay.
A lot of like, where do I qualify given that I haven't graduated yet? And then just kind of like what was the best fit for me as far
Right.
as timeline. And
So let's talk about the personal statement. How did you like that process?
the personal statement, as in terms of like the actual CASPA application, was the hardest part for me. I struggled with that, and I didn't think that I was going to. That's not, going into it, I was like, oh, I have a couple, reviews, and then it'll be good to go. But I can't tell you the amount of like different copies of my personal statement I have saved on my computer. It's a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of our process, did you find that helpful?
Yes, that was like, I don't know what I would have done or if I would have ever been able to come up with a final draft without your help, because I kept reading it and wanting to change things, and just having somebody that I could trust, that I knew no one wants to get into PA school more than me, right? But like,
Right.
I was
Yep.
like, I was
That's
like,
right.
you have my best interest in mind and you've done this a million times. So kind of just having that trust and being like, they're giving you good advice, they are not trying to sabotage you, and
No.
you just have to like, take the advice and give up your like, well, maybe like I like this better. And also I think making sure something that like I've recommended to students that have asked me about it, I'm like, do not have everybody read your statement and give you feedback on it, because the more people that read it, the more opinions you're going to get, and the more you're going to like not know what to, because everyone's going to like something different, and you have to listen to somebody that knows what they're talking about, because it might not be the most emotional metaphor, that's like not what you're looking for. It's not creative writing. And so getting somebody that understands that to help you, it was just like the thing that I needed, because I don't think I would have it would have taken me even longer than it did to come up with a final draft.
Yeah. Now, I think it was probably a little while before you got your first interview.
Yeah, I got my first interview in mid-August, I think.
Okay. So, and I think you're getting a little uncomfortable. I mean, when did you submit CASPA?
I submitted CASPA the second week of May. So
Good.
just about 2 weeks after it opened. Yeah.
Early submission never a bad decision there. But I do remember you were a little nervous about not having received an interview invitation right away. So it took a little bit of just calming down. I mean, not you were like over, but just like, what's happening? Just it'll come.
Getting off the forums, I would say, is important. If you're on the forums too much and you're seeing, oh shoot, somebody else already got an interview. I got an interview to the school I'm going to, AT Still, well after lots of people had already gotten their interview invites. Who submitted after me, and I don't know exactly how they categorize applications or what have you, but it definitely stay off the forums and just be patient, because it's going to stress you out, and it's not like it's going to change anything either.
So let's talk about the interview process itself. So let's start. How many interviews did you get?
I got 7, and I went through with 5 before I got my top choice. And then
of the 5, how many were you accepted at?
I was accepted to 4 out of the 5, and then waitlisted at the 5th. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
I seem to remember there was somebody saying that you were going to come down to the point where you'd have to figure out which school you would get into.
Who was that?
I don't remember. I don't know. There was someone else hanging out talking about it. All right. So let's talk about the mock interview preparation. Again, how do you feel that helped, or if it helped?
The mock interviews helped tremendously. I know for me, it felt like when I went into my first interview that I was taking a test that I had already seen all the questions for. Because it was like getting a test where the professor uses the study guide, and you're like, oh, I've already prepared all of this. And a lot of, I mean, there was like here and there with a couple interviews, there was a couple of curveball like questions that I was surprised at. But overall, it was like just a form of another question worded a little bit differently. And if I broke it down, I was like, what's the question behind the question? And
Right.
it was easy to figure all of that out. And so I think that I never left an interview feeling like I bombed it. I never felt like I wasn't prepared. And so the interview prep was, like I said, it was exactly like what my real interviews were like. And even the MMIs, everyone's like, that one, just, you never know what you're going to get. But
Right.
when you learn how to think out loud and talk through it all, even no matter what question you get, you're still prepared for it.
Right. Did you have any interviews where you did it like with a group with other people?
Yeah, I had, so two of my interviews, one of them had a group activity. And so that was like where we were all basically working together on a project. And then while someone's kind of sitting and evaluating you. And then the other one was like a group interview where we were all at a round table and then we all got the same questions. And it was like going down.
Okay. So we always want to, like, when you get in the ones where they're asking everybody the same question, did you feel like people were responding with, because we usually tell you things not to say, or this is what everybody else is going to say. So I don't know if you got to witness that yourself.
To be honest, I was shocked by the other answers that were being given. Some people were saying things that just came straight off the interview. And I think that I remember saying, I don't like to be like, oh, I aced that. But when I left my group interview, I was like, I definitely was the most prepared in the group interview because lots of people were saying things that I was just like, we had talked about, they were just like, red flags, like things that you know not to say. And so I think that was surprising because I was like, wow, I realized that like how prepared I was and how much I knew in comparison to the other people that were, had good CASPAs because they were at the interview, but they still were not prepared for their interview.
Okay. So this is really obviously what most people want to know is what advice do you have for anybody who is now thinking of applying to a PA program, maybe next cycle? What recommendations or advice would you give them?
I think the two things for me that were the biggest was making sure that you have somebody to talk to who knows about the process because it takes the guesswork out of everything and it takes a lot of stress off the process. And staying off the internet and making sure that you don't just take every piece of advice that you read or that you see on social media, because a lot of the times like that's what everybody else is saying. And so you have to make sure that you make the whole process personal and make sure that it's, you're accurately representing yourself, but also, preparing, but like making sure you find the balance between, making it unique and like your story and your process. And then also having somebody like guide you on how to use your own experiences, I guess. The other thing that I would say is really important is like not forgetting your why, because like it's going to be frustrating at times probably, and you're going to feel exhausted, like, oh, this is never going to work out for me. But like if you're able to remember kind of why you're doing it and why, think about all the work that you put in and that you like every moment has led up to now, and like you're kind of at your final push if you're applying, just remembering that gives you the motivation to keep going. And then making sure that you don't take advice from too many people. I think that was honestly the biggest part for me was I had so many professors and like people that, meant a lot to me that were trying to like give their opinion and give their advice. And well, I think you should do this, or I think you should, I was told by several people I shouldn't apply this cycle and that I should hold off and things like that. And so, I mean, if I had listened to them, then I would have been, taking a gap year and I would be not in the position that I am now with like multiple acceptances. And so I think that making sure that you listen to people that know what they're talking about. Don't take advice from just anybody, even if you care about them and they want the best for you. They just don't know.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you doing this and taking the time out. So when do you start school?
I start PA school on July 18th.
Wow.
So yeah, I'll graduate at the beginning of May and then I have a couple months off.
Okay.
Then
wow, that's great. Well, I wish you all the best. Obviously, you're going to do great in PA school. And then, so I told you before, don't hesitate to reach back out to us when you graduate and you're looking for your job. Happy to help you then again, too.
Definitely. And thank you for everything that you've done. It's been, it's been all the world to me. It's been so much help.
Well, it was easy to work with you. So I'm glad this worked out the way it did. But thanks again for your time, April.
Yeah, thank you.